At 3:47 a.m. local time on the 15th of June, 4 Shahed 136 drones took off from Lebanese territory with a clear mission: neutralize an Israeli military installation in the north. But what happened next would forever change the rules of the game in the Middle East. Each of these drones weighed exactly 200 kilograms, carrying 50 kilograms of high-power explosives in their warheads. With their aerodynamic clipped delta wing design and a wingspan of 2.5 meters, they flew at 185 kilometers per h toward what they believed was their designated target. The problem is that the GPS coordinates were incorrectly programmed. Iranian operators had configured the navigation system based on American civilian coordinates, but a subtle electromagnetic interference had diverted the signal by just 800 meters. It seems like little, but in precision warfare, 800 meters is the difference between success and catastrophe. At 4:23 a.m., the first Shahed 136 impacted. Its explosive charge detonated at 3,000 degrees Celsius, enough to melt steel. But instead of destroying the planned military radar, it had struck a completely different zone. The other 3 drones followed the same erroneous trajectory, impacting in sequence every 47 seconds. The characteristic metallic sound of these drones, similar to German Stukas from World War II, had alerted Israeli defenses, but it was too late. The Iron Dome systems reacted 47 seconds after the first impact, a record time, but insufficient to intercept the swarm. Within minutes, Israeli intelligence confirmed the origin of the attack through fragment analysis. The technical signature was unmistakable: 2-blade propeller engines, Chinese components assembled in Iranian workshops, and most revealing, remains of civilian GPS navigation systems that had failed catastrophically. But this error was not coincidental. What we will discover in the next few minutes will reveal a systematic failure in Iranian technology that would have devastating consequences for the entire region. To understand the magnitude of this failure, one must know exactly what technology was involved. The Shahed 136 is not just any drone. It is the result of 40 years of Iranian development and represents the most advanced of its unmanned arsenal. This kamikaze drone measures 3.5 meters long with a wingspan of 2.5 meters. Its central fuselage integrates perfectly with the wings and carries vertical stabilizers at the tips. But what really makes it lethal is its propulsion system, a rear-mounted engine that moves a 2-blade pusher propeller, generating that characteristic metallic buzzing. The operational range of these drones varies between 970 and 1,500 kilometers, which means they can be launched from Iranian territory and strike targets throughout the Middle East. Their cruise speed exceeds 185 kilometers per h, and they can maintain autonomous flight for hours. But here comes the critical point: their navigation system. The Shahed 136S depend on a combination of American civilian GPS and backup inertial navigation. Unlike the Russian Jaran, 2 versions that use the GLONASS system, the Iranians continue using Chinese civilian components combined with commercial GPS technology. This dependence on American GPS is ironic, considering that Iran and the United States are declared enemies, but it is also their Achilles heel. Israel, which captured its first Iranian drone in 1999, a Hermes that was spying on a nuclear plant, has developed electronic warfare capabilities specifically designed to interfere with these systems. The Shahed 136's warhead carries between 30 and 50 kilograms of high-power explosives. It's not massive compared to ballistic missiles, but it's perfectly designed to destroy infrastructure targets, radars, communication stations, fuel depots, and command centers. What makes these drones especially dangerous is their production cost, barely $30,000 per unit. To give you an idea, a single Iron Dome interceptor missile costs more than $50,000. The economic equation clearly favors the attacker. Israeli intelligence teams worked all night analyzing the remains. What they found was more revealing than expected. The fragments told a technical story that explained exactly what had gone wrong. The telemetry analysis recovered from the fragments showed that the drones had perfectly followed their program trajectory. The problem wasn't mechanical, it was navigational. The data indicated that a subtle electromagnetic interference had altered the GPS signals approximately 26 kilometers from the original target. This interference was not accidental. Israel had been perfecting its GPS spoofing technology since 2011, when Iran captured the American RQ-170 Sentinel Drive 1 through a similar cyber attack. The technique consists of sending false GPS signals that deceive the drone's navigation system, making it believe it's in a different location. Israeli technicians discovered something more concerning in the remains: modified Starlink terminals. Like the Houthis in the Red Sea, who use this technology to coordinate swarm attacks in real time, the Iranians had integrated commercial satellite communication into their military drones. These terminals allow operators to maintain control over the drones until the moment of impact, being able to adjust coordinates and select alternative targets. But they also make them vulnerable to sophisticated electronic interference. The backup inertial navigation system, which should have compensated for GPS loss, also failed. The Chinese gyroscopes and accelerometers used in these drones don't have the military precision necessary to maintain course without external GPS reference. The digital reconstruction of the flight showed that the 4 drones had flown in tight formation, staying below 50 meters altitude to avoid radar detection, exactly as documented in Ukrainian operations against Russian platforms in the Black Sea. But, unlike Ukrainian FPV drones that allow real-time adjustments until the moment of impact, the Shahed 136S function primarily with pre-programmed coordinates. Once GPS was compromised, they became blind projectiles flying toward the wrong destination. The story of this error goes back to the 1980s, when students from the University of Isfahan created the first Iranian prototypes using wooden propellers and intravenous serum bags as fuel tanks. What began as improvisation during the Iran-Iraq War had become a military industry valued in the billions. The Iranian drone program had several key moments that explain current vulnerabilities. In 1999, when Israel shot down an Israeli Hermes drone that was spying on Iranian nuclear facilities, Iranian engineers initiated an intensive reverse engineering process that lasted years. The result was the Shahed 123 in 2007, much more stable than its predecessors and capable of operating under adverse weather conditions. But the real leap came in 2011 with the Shahed 129, which measures 8 meters long with a 16-meter wingspan, can fly 24 hours uninterrupted, and carry up to 400 kilograms of armament. That same year, Iran achieved one of its greatest feats, capturing intact the American RQ-170, Sentinel Drive 1. According to Iran, they used cyber warfare to interfere with its GPS, making it believe it was landing in Allied territory when they actually guided it to Iranian territory. This technique became the basis of their electronic warfare. The reverse engineering of the RQ-170 produced 2 stealth models, the Shahed 171 Simorgh and the Shahed 191, both tested in Syria against Islamic State positions. But the most significant development came in December 2021 with the Shahed 136, the first Iranian kamikaze drone designed specifically for swarm warfare. The evolution culminated with the Shahed 149 Gaza in 2021, a counterpart to the American MQ-9 Reaper with a 21-meter wingspan, capacity for 13 guided bombs, and 24-hour autonomy. Its first Iranian turboprop engine gives it superior payload capacity and sustained performance. But this rapid technological evolution had a hidden price: dependence on foreign components and navigation systems vulnerable to enemy interference. At the end of the day, this Iranian error teaches us something fundamental about the future of warfare. Technology without precision is power without purpose. Iran had developed the capacity to produce thousands of lethal drones, but an 800-meter navigation failure converted a tactical victory into a strategic disaster. The paradox of technological democratization is clear. The more accessible destructive technology becomes, the more vulnerable it becomes to sophisticated countermeasures. The same GPS systems that allow a civilian to order home delivery can be manipulated to divert military weapons. It's like giving a Ferrari to someone who barely knows how to drive. Are we facing a new era of perpetual low-intensity conflicts? The evidence suggests yes. When a $30,000 drone can cause million-dollar damage, and when a civilian operator can control military precision weapons from their computer, traditional barriers to warfare vanish like smoke. The role of major powers in this evolution is, let's say, complicated. The United States develops GPS technology that is then compromised by its enemies. China produces civilian components that become military weapons. Russia adapts Iranian designs for its own conflicts. It's a vicious circle where each defensive innovation generates 3 new offensive threats. The implications for civilian populations are frankly concerning. Critical infrastructure like power plants, hospitals, and communication centers become accessible targets for non-state actors with startup budgets but superpowered destructive ambitions. International regulation is literally light years behind technological evolution. There is no coherent legal framework to control the transfer of dual-use technology like Starlink terminals or commercial drone components that transform into military weapons. International lawyers are discussing rules for decade-old technology, while engineers are already designing next decade's threat. But there is a window of hope in all this chaos. Israel demonstrated that defensive innovation can evolve faster than threats, but it requires 3 things: massive investment, international coordination, and above all, admitting that the rules of the game have changed forever. The probable evolution points toward fascinating and terrifying scenarios. Imagine drones with artificial intelligence that don't depend on GPS, that learn to navigate like birds using visual references. Or swarms of thousands of micro-drones, each the size of an insect, coordinating like bees to saturate any known defense. The economic factor is brutal. While defenses cost millions, attacks cost thousands. It's a mathematical equation that favors chaos over order. Each Iron Dome interceptor is worth more than 2 Shahed 136s. The arithmetic of destruction has never been so unequal. Perhaps the most uncomfortable lesson is that traditional technological superiority no longer guarantees military superiority. A teenager with a laptop and access to commercial components can, theoretically, create more destruction than a fighter squadron from 20 years ago. The final question is, can defenses evolve faster than threats? The answer will determine whether we live in a world where democratized destructive technology creates stable balance or perpetual chaos. The Iranian era gave us a window into this future, and honestly, it's not particularly reassuring for anyone.